Hello students, let us start our new session with the new topic magnetic force on a current carrying conductor. Now we are going to take a conductor whose length is L and its cross section area is A. Now the number of charge density of those mobile charge carriers, that is N, and we consider that right now charge carriers are electrons. Now the total number of charge carriers which are moving along the conductor is NLA. Number of electrons N moving through the area A with the length of this road L. So total number of charge carriers are N into L into A. Now for the steady current I, we are assuming that mobile carrier has an average drift velocity is Vd. So mobile charge carriers are moving with the average drift velocity Vd. So in the presence of external magnetic field B, the force onto the carrier we are having total charge. Earlier we have the force equation Q V cross B. Now instead of that, instead of the single charge Q, now we have the total charge carriers N L A into Q. Instead of the V, now we have the average drift velocity Vd and the force B is available. 2 times curl we are going to do, 1 time with the velocity and another time with the number of charge carriers. So continuously curl performance we need to do. Now that we know, in the earlier chapter we have defined NQVD is nothing but current density, and current density is current per area. So if J is the current density NQVD, then my current J equals to I by A. So I equals to J into A. So my current is NQVD into A. So this is how my current can be defined. So from that we can define that NQVD into LA cross B. So NQVD is J. So JAL cross B. And now JA is replaced by I. So LI cross B. Now bold letter L defines the vector of the magnitude L. We are using L is the length with the, it's a vector quantity. So L into I cross B. So length of the wire towards which the current is passing through it. So we are assuming that current is moving in the direction of the length of the wire. So wherever the road is present, in the same direction my current is flowing. So to define this condition, we are using L as the vector quantity in the magnitude of small l. So current is not a vector quantity. L is the vector quantity, right? And this is what we have replaced this condition. Now B is the external magnetic field. It is not produced by the current. See, basically, if current is existed, magnetic field can be generated, that we have studied in earlier topic. Now here we are providing magnetic field as an external force. So what we are assuming right now? Magnetic field is not produced due to current, but we are giving externally a magnetic field. So if the wire has an arbitrary shape, we can conclude that Lorentz force on it by considering is a collection of linear strips of DLJ. If my shape of the wire is arbitrarily, so we are doing a combining a number of small wires in the particular strips and summing its individual length of and getting its total force. So I into dLj cross B, this is what we are doing, the summation of the acted force into the individual length of the wire, and we are going to add it using a superposition, or instead of that we also can do a integration. Integration is nothing but number of times summation. Here we are going to understand an example. A straight wire having a mass 200 gram, its length is 1.5 meter, carrier a current of 2 ampere. It is suspended in mid-air by a uniform horizontal magnetic field B, as shown in figure. What is the magnitude of magnetic field? We need to get the value of magnetic field magnitude. For that, mass of the wire is given, length of the wire is given, current carrying by the conductor, the value it's 2 ampere, it is already given. So what that force is in upward direction. Force is always either upward or downward. It means wherever the current is flowing, in that perpendicular to that my force is acted of the and that force is acted with the magnitude ILB. For mid-air suspension, it must be balanced through the gravity. In mid-air, the gravitational force is present, so it must be balanced by the gravitation force. So gravitation force is mg. So mg equal to the force is available as the current is flowing through it due to magnetic field. So both is going to be equated, because now it is defined that wire is balanced condition. So mg equal to ILB. So B equals to mg by I into L. M is the mass, is already given, 200 gram converted into the kilogram, so 0.2. G is the constant of gravitational force, that is a 9.8. 2 ampere current is already given, and length of the wire 1.5 meter is already given. By placing these values, we have the B is 0.65 Tesla. So it would have been sufficient to specify meter per m by L length, the mass per unit length, and the Earth's magnetic field is 3.6 into 10 raised to minus 5 is ignored. Here in the round figure it is given 4 into 10 raised to 5 Tesla. This we are going to ignore, because we have this field in terms of 0.65 Tesla and our Earth magnetic field in 10 raised to minus 5 Tesla. So it is very less, so we can ignore it. Another example, if the magnetic field is parallel to the positive y-axis and the charged particle is moving along the positive x-axis, which way would the Lorentz force be for first an electron for the negative charge and for a proton positive charge? See, here in the diagram, 3 directions are given, x, y and z. And it is given that magnetic field is in the parallel to the y. Matlab magnetic field B is in the y direction. Charged particle is moving in the x direction. So, in which direction Lorentz force is present for the electron and for the proton? Now, as we know, V cross B should be present. Electric, that moving of the charge in x, along the y magnetic field is there. So obviously Lorentz force must be in the parallel of that, so it must be in the z direction by cross product of V cross B using the right thumb rule. So what happened? If the electron is there, obviously in the negative direction the force is acted. So if the electron is present, Lorentz force is acted present along the minus z axis, and if the positive charge is present over the proton, the force is present is along with the plus z axis. Okay, so here we are going to end our session. Hope you understood. Thank you. Hello students, let us start our new session with the new topic, that is motion in a magnetic field. Now, a force on a particle only can work, we can say, if the force has a component along or opposite to the direction of motion of a particle. So if we are giving a force onto the particle, it will be work when the force is in the direction or opposite direction of the motion. In the case of the motion in a magnetic field must be perpendicular to the velocity of the particle. It means direction of the motion and the magnetic field must be perpendicular to each other. And whatever the velocity is produced when the work is done over the charge, at the time the motion is in the parallel component or anti-parallel component. So if parallel or anti-parallel components are present, work is not done, so no change in the magnitude of the velocity is available. If perpendicular force is available, then only the work will be done. Now consider a motion of a charge in a uniform magnetic field. So in this case, V, the velocity of charge, is perpendicular to the given magnetic field B. So we have the force equation Q into V cross B act as a centripetal force and produces a circular motion perpendicular to the magnetic field as shown in the figure. The magnetic field is available and in the perpendicular to that, motion of the charge is available acted with the force and its velocity direction. The particle will describe a circle if V and B are perpendicular to each other. If the endal deflection is available, circular path won't be available. And if a velocity has a component along a B, this component remains unchanged along with a magnetic field and it is not affected by magnetic field. So the motion in a plane perpendicular to B act as a circular path, and this circular path remains continuous as the charge is moving in a straight line. So this continuous circular path gives you the helical structure of the motion. Charge is moving in a circular motion due to the given force and magnetic field according to its velocity. So as it chooses the circular path, as charge is moving along it with the constant force in a uniform magnetic field, so this circular pattern becomes continuously with its motion and helical motion is generated. So here if we are taking that R is the radius of circular path, the force acting over it is the mv square by R, which is perpendicular to the path towards the center of the circle, and this total force is known as centripetal force. Velocity V and magnetic field is perpendicular and acts like a centrifugal force. So this force magnitude of the force is given by QVB. So now we have a two expression for the centripetal force. One due to its kinetic force mv square by R equal to QVB. So if R we are taking as a subject of formula, it becomes mv by QB, right? Because here charge is continuously moving with its force, kinetic force, mv square by r. And the external magnetic force is available over the charge with the velocity v is qvb. So both the magnitude is we are going to be compared. Here we are just taking a magnitude, so vector is not there. So r equals to mv, vv at both the side will be nullified. So one time v is there, so mv by qb. This is for the radius of the circle by the charged particles. So if larger the momentum, larger the radius, and bigger the circle carried out by the movement of this charged particle. So for that, its angular velocity is defined as, for example, omega. Then velocity equal to omega into r. But omega is generally 2 pi f. F is a frequency. Instead of the f, here it is noted as a v. V for the velocity. V is basically the frequency. So here we can say that omega equals to 2 pi v. V is the frequency of rotation equal to qb by m. qb by m. Why? Because omega equals velocity equals to omega into r. Right? So omega equal to v by r. Omega equal to v by r, omega equal to 2 pi v. So v by r, from the previous equation, we can say that qb by m. So it is replaced over here, qb by m. So that is independent of the velocity or the energy. And as I told you, 2 pi v, with that v is the frequency of rotation. Independence of the frequency from the energy has important application which we will study further in next topic with the cyclotron. So unit time taken for a one revolution is a t. As we know, t equals to 1 by f. Instead of f, we have the v, frequency of rotation. And omega equals to 2 pi f. Instead of that, that is omega equal to 2 pi v. So v equal to omega upon 2 pi. So this equation is replaced over here. So my t equals to 2 pi by omega, that is equal to 1 by v. So there is a component of velocity parallel to the magnetic field. If we are taking a component of velocity parallel to the magnetic field, which is noted as a velocity with parallel sign, it will make a particle move along the field and the path of the particle would be helical one. So the distance moved, that is why the parallel component of circles are obtained. So one circle with that parallel of the another circle with that parallel of the third circle. So likewise the helical structure is produced. So the distance moved along the magnetic field in one rotation is known as a pitch. So the distance between two circles, that known as a pitch, and this pitch p equals to v parallel component into t. So that can be replaced with 2 pi m v parallel component by qb. So the radius of the circular component of motion is called as radius of the helix. Now go through the example. What is the radius of the path of an electron? Mass, that is 9 into 10 raised to minus 31 kilogram, and charge is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb, moving at a speed 3 into 10 raised to 7 meter per second in a magnetic field of 6 into 10 raised to minus 4 Tesla, perpendicular to it. So what is its frequency? Calculates its energy in kilo electric volt. And 1 electrovolt equals to 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 joule. Now the radius has the equation mv by qb. So mass is given 19 into 10 raised to minus 31 kilogram. Velocity is given 3 into 10 raised to 7 meter per second. Charge is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. And B is given 6 into 10 raised to minus 4 Tesla. So place all the values. We have the radius 26 into 10 raised to minus 2 meter, that is 26 centimeter. Now frequency V equals to velocity V by 2 pi r. So that we have 2 into 10 raised to 6 per second. So that is 2 megahertz. So E, that is 1/2 mv square, that is 1/2 9 into 10 raised to minus 31 kilogram, and V is 9 into 10 raised to 14 meter square per second square. So my equation becomes 14.5 10 raised to minus 17 joule, or 4 into 10 raised to minus 16 joule. We can convert it into the electrovolt, so it would be 2.5 K electrovolt. Here we are going to end our session. Hope you understood. Thank you.